Man, why you have me look at that boy taking off his shirt, doing push-ups, all out, jumping around? Come on, man. That's some clown. King clown. That's some real clowns.
Gene Deal didn't just go off, he detonated. The ex-bodyguard, the man who once stood behind the velvet ropes of Diddy's empire, unleashed a scorched earth reaction to the now infamous video of King Combs celebrating outside the courthouse. And when we say celebrating, we're not talking about quiet tears of relief or a humble nod to the heavens. No, this was full-on spectacle. Shirt off, muscles flexed, sweat glistening, the man dropping to the pavement to knock out push-ups like he'd just won a UFC title, while a throng of camera phones captured every second. Laughter, swagger, celebration. In Gene's words, King Clown. Not King Combs, not King Kong, King Damn Clown. And the venom behind that nickname? You could taste it through the screen. Deal didn't mince a single syllable. "You're a poser," he spat, eyes locked straight on the camera. "You ain't no gangster, you a prankster, son." The kind of public dressing down that should make even the hardest ego shrivel. Gene's tone wasn't just angry, it was disgusted. He didn't see a son standing tall for his embattled father. He saw a clown show on the courthouse steps, a PR circus stage in the middle of a legal war zone. "That's some clown mess, man," he scoffed, practically growling the words. And the man's not wrong. Optics matter, especially when your father's still facing a potential decade behind bars. Because let's not get it twisted, Diddy didn't walk free. He dodged the RICO charge, yes, but he was convicted on 2 counts of crossing state lines for illicit purposes. That alone is keeping him behind bars, waiting for sentencing with the clock ticking toward October.
Man, listen to me, man. Let me just tell you something, bro. And this is real talk. He's still going to jail. You happy because he didn't get the RICO and the racketeering, so he gets to keep his money. He gets to keep his inheritance. He gets to keep all the that they stole over the years from other people.
Now here's where it gets sticky and possibly dangerous. Gene dropped a bombshell in passing, but it's the kind of remark that echoes, the judge might give him extra time for this, his antics. And he wasn't speculating like a YouTube blogger thirsting for clicks. He was drawing from experience. He knows the system. He knows that while judges are supposed to be above emotion, they're still human beings. They watch the news, they hear whispers, and they absolutely do not take kindly to arrogance outside their courtroom. Gene painted the picture clear. A judge at home, sipping his coffee, phone buzzes. "Yo, judge, look at this. Diddy's boy out here doing push-ups, dancing, shirtless, like this whole thing was a movie rap party." And what does that judge think? Maybe, okay, let's see if he's still smiling when I drop 10 years on his daddy's head. And yes, there's precedent. Judges have done it before, not because it's legal retaliation, but because it's human nature when someone flaunts defiance under the guise of joy.
That's why he happy. Him and Puff wasn't that tight. They used to go at it. People close by would tell that story. Yeah, that's still his father. But you and I both know that extra right out there, come on, man.
The moment outside the Manhattan courthouse was supposed to show strength. Instead, it reeked of something else entirely. And what if, just what if, this wasn't even about father-son love? Here's where the whispers come crawling out of the woodwork. A well-placed source close to a major streaming platform claimed there were talks, a back-channel arrangement, allegedly, between Diddy's team and a content development agency to craft an image reset in real time. The deal? Use King Combs to put a friendly face on the chaos. No suits, no somber tones, just raw energy, youth, legacy, and loyalty. Push-ups on pavement, laughter in the face of turmoil, marketable defiance, viral strength. It wasn't just celebration, it was brand management.
And I know you happy for your father and everything like that, but do that at home in the privacy of your house. You still got a judge that's got to make a decision.
We're not saying this was a setup, but when the cameras are perfectly positioned, the edits hit social media within minutes, and the influencers are already resharing with tags like Free Puff and Royal Bloodline. Well, it doesn't smell like spontaneity. It smells like a rollout. And that's where the so-called hidden celebration deal comes in. A rumor, yes, but one that's beginning to solidify in the minds of those who've seen this game before. One industry veteran who worked with Bad Boy during its golden years put it like this: They're not celebrating the verdict, they're rebranding the legacy, real-time damage control dressed up as family unity. But if that's true, it's a high-stakes move, because when you turn your father's court verdict into a PR moment, you blur the line between loyalty and opportunism. You raise eyebrows, you invite questions from prosecutors, you give the judge a reason to watch you closer, and you send a message to every one of those civil case plaintiffs still waiting in line. We're not humbled, we're not afraid, we're ready to spin this into a feature-length doc and sell it to the highest bidder. Gene Deal sees it for what it is, or at least what he thinks it is, and he's not the only one. Behind the scenes, multiple sources close to the courthouse proceedings have confirmed that prosecutors have already logged that viral video into their case records. Not for new charges, but for context. Because context is currency when it comes to sentencing. And the context of King Combs doing calisthenics in the shadow of a trial about forced encounters and cross-border trafficking, it doesn't exactly scream remorse. It screams privilege, detachment, maybe even entitlement.
But when do you grow up, man, and be who you really are? Because you ain't no gangster. You don't know what a gangster is. You a prankster. You a prankster, son. Stop that.
The internet had its fun, sure. TikTok ate it up. The memes came fast. PushUps For Puff, one post read, alongside a slow-motion clip of King Combs dropping to the ground, his abs catching the morning sun like a music video extra. But behind the jokes, something deeper is simmering. A sense that the spectacle isn't just inappropriate, it's dangerous. Not just for the optics, for the outcome. Because if that judge, Arun Subramanian, a man already painted as stern and unflinching, sees that celebration as a middle finger to the court, then all bets are off. And here's the kicker. King Combs didn't act alone. There was a whole entourage egging him on. One man, allegedly a bodyguard or maybe just another hanger-on, even dropped to the sidewalk and joined the push-ups. Gene Deal, nearly foaming at the mouth in disbelief, asked the obvious, "What the hell is you doing? Put your shirt on and get back in the car." Because this wasn't just one son, it was a production. It was a moment curated for the feed, for the click, for the myth of resilience. And that myth might end up costing them dearly.
I think when the people heard the mixtape and they called him out on it, and they was checking him and they was trying to check him, but they lost, bruh. They don't have no guidance. The dude who's supposed to be doing, I don't know if he's security or whatever like that, man, what the fuck is you doing out here like this? He gets on the ground and start doing pushes up with him. Bruh, for real?
Especially when it's built on shaky ground. Let's not forget, Diddy may have dodged the RICO bullet, but he's still sitting behind bars, still convicted, still staring down federal time. And King Combs, celebrating like his father just beat the feds entirely, that's a script that doesn't match the ending. At least not yet. And while the public saw a victory dance, Gene Deal saw something else entirely. He saw a boy who used to butt heads with his dad, now suddenly front and center playing loyal heir. They wasn't even that close, Gene said. That's what folks around them used to say. So was this really family solidarity or a last-ditch audition for legacy? Because let's face it, there's money in loyalty. There's opportunity in redemption arc. And with over 60 civil suits piling up, every ounce of public favor matters. The image of a defiant son standing shirtless in the face of controversy might just be the visual that saves a streaming deal or sells a tell-all. But if that's the game, it's a dangerous one, especially when the judge is still watching.
The dollar is making them. What you happy about? You gotta realize they know his daddy's still going to jail. They happy because they feel like the government doesn't have a right to mess with nobody at this time.
And here's the uncomfortable truth that Gene Deal hammered home. This wasn't just a viral moment, it was a ticking time bomb in a tailored courtroom. Judges, for all their robes and formality, are not robots. They have opinions, they have families, and yes, they have emotions. Gene wasn't speculating when he warned that the celebration could ripple through the sentencing phase like a sledgehammer through stained glass. He was spelling it out, plain and raw, when court officers pass around that video, King Combs half-naked, flexing, laughing, literally doing push-ups on the pavement while victims and advocates still wait for justice. It paints a picture that no lawyer can unpaint. We've heard murmurs that prosecutors might use the footage to paint the family as unrepentant, not just defiant, but dismissive of the harm done. One legal insider suggests the video could be referenced in pre-sentencing arguments to support the idea that Diddy still holds sway outside the courtroom, that he's grooming public sympathy and media control through his son. That phrase, grooming public sympathy, echoes in the minds of those watching closely. And what if the judge agrees? What if he decides that a slap on the wrist would send the wrong message, especially when the defendant's own family is out there acting like the fight's already won?
I'm going to tell you my predictions, but I want to say this first, if you allow me to. This journey didn't start in 2018 when I came to YouTube and I started talking about Bad Boy and Diddy and his character.
There's talk, too, that victims' advocates, some of whom were in the courtroom, faces tight, eyes tracking every smirk, were livid about the video. One advocate who's worked closely with similar high-profile cases described it as a mockery of the process. Another called it a humiliation for every survivor still waiting for closure. And let's not forget, Diddy was convicted, just not of the charges that carried the life sentence. He's still facing real time. The judge has broad discretion within the sentencing guidelines, and now he's got a front row view to the family's public tone. It's not remorseful, it's celebratory. And that could be catastrophic. Behind the scenes, another unsettling theory has begun circulating among legal analysts and industry veterans alike, a theory that Diddy's legal team may have operated a so-called shadow jury during the trial. The term refers to a covert group of consultants tasked with watching every move, gesture, and reaction of the actual jury members during the proceedings, collecting insights that defense attorneys can exploit in real time. While technically legal if kept within the bounds of court decorum, the practice becomes morally murky in high-stakes trials like this, especially when the resources behind it dwarf those of the prosecution. If true, it would mark a staggering example of wealth bending the scales of justice without ever officially breaking the rules.
When I start talking about Puff character and the dude that he was, it was after Big got murdered. Even though I was still working for Bad Boy, I still was talking about who this cat was. Like I tried to tell y'all, they needed me more than I needed them.
This alleged jury surveillance team would have functioned like behavioral analysts in designer suits, watching jurors for eye rolls, note-taking rhythms, momentary glances during emotional testimony. They'd report back during breaks or overnight sessions, allowing defense attorneys to tweak strategies, amplify arguments that were landing, or abandon lines that seemed to repel. Multiple trial observers noted that Diddy's team seemed unusually confident even when the prosecution brought up explosive evidence. One courtroom regular told reporters that defense counsel often appeared to steer their tone or emphasis in direct response to the mood of a single juror. Coincidence? Or the fingerprints of a privately funded psychological operation? Whispers about a mirror jury became louder when some legal commentators began dissecting the peculiar dynamics of the split verdict. How did a case filled with graphic testimony, leaked footage, and dozens of civil allegations result in convictions on only the lesser charges? Public defenders and former federal prosecutors have noted that juries in celebrity cases often operate under unique pressures. But when a team has near limitless resources, it can blur the line between persuasion and quiet coercion. Add to that the influence of media coverage, fan culture, and social media spin, and the environment begins to look more like a psychological chessboard than a neutral courtroom.
A lot of these guys who come on this internet, they don't know. Bruh, they don't know that I was a New York State parole officer. I ran Elite Investigation. I ran Tiana Towers, Eastchester Housing, Tiana Towers, and Lampert Housing, doing the security teams around there. I ran clubs.
If a shadow jury was indeed in play, it would highlight a disturbing evolution in how high-profile trials are fought and, perhaps, won. It's no longer just about who has the best facts or the most compelling story. It's about who can anticipate juror behavior, manipulate optics, and present a narrative perfectly calibrated to bypass outrage fatigue. With Diddy's empire flush with connections to media strategists, behavioral consultants, and former prosecutors now working private high-dollar gigs, the idea isn't just possible, it's probable. And if the defense used that information to undercut the racketeering and trafficking charges before they even reached deliberation, it means the real battle may have happened entirely outside the jury box. This isn't just a Diddy problem, it's a justice problem. Because if this tactic becomes the standard for any powerful defendant with enough money to fund it, the courtroom stops being a place of truth-seeking and becomes a stage for performance, calibration, and strategic misdirection. It leaves one gut-twisting question lingering long after the gavel falls. In cases like this, did we ever have a real chance at justice? Or were we just watching a high-budget illusion rehearsed to perfection?
People want to shut me up and people want me to be quiet because I tell guys it's all right to go to work every day. It's all right to get your education. It's all right to be somebody positive in the community. It's all right to hang out with dudes who call themselves street dudes, and you ain't got to be a street dude to do it.
But here's where things take an even darker turn, because behind all the flexing and fanfare, something else might be unraveling. Gene Deal didn't just critique the courthouse antics. He cracked open a vault that's been sealed behind studio glass and PR gloss for years. According to him, the FatherSon Bond that King Combs proudly broadcast in that viral video, it may never have existed in the way we were led to believe. Him and Puff wasn't that tight, Gene said bluntly. And people close to the situation are beginning to echo that sentiment. Insiders who've worked around the Combs family for years are now speaking up. One music executive who collaborated with Bad Boy in the 2010s said the father-son dynamic was always complicated. There was tension, money, expectations, identity. Christian wanted his own name, Diddy wanted control. Another source described their relationship as brand first, blood second. If that's true, it casts King Combs' courthouse performance in a chilling new light. Was it about love or about legacy?
So now, I came here to this internet to talk about this dude's character. It's nothing I said that could have landed that dude in jail. Any of those secrets would probably with me.
There are whispers, loud ones, that financial security could be playing a role in this public loyalty. We've heard that King Combs has access to trusts and business ventures tied directly to his father's empire. If those assets ever came under scrutiny during civil litigation, or if Diddy's team needed public allies to sway perception, having a son standing proudly by his side, dripping in charisma and loyalty, would be a powerful symbol. A protective shield, a walking distraction. And here's the question that won't go away. Was the PushUp Parade outside the courthouse a son defending his father's honor, or a strategic move to defend the family fortune?
Or I've heard anybody else say until the federal government came in, because nobody knew, Mighty. Nobody knew before the federal government came in and hit Puff with those charges that any of this would have ever happened.
Gene's scathing commentary didn't just highlight immaturity, it hinted at something more corrosive. A crumbling family image, hastily taped back together for the cameras, a dynasty at risk of devouring itself from the inside out. "When do you grow up, man?" he asked, calling King Combs a prankster who doesn't know what a real gangster is. It was more than tough talk. It was a public warning to a younger man playing a game he may not fully understand. Because as the countdown to sentencing ticks on, the stakes aren't just legal, they're generational. If the judge interprets King Combs' video as evidence of defiance or manipulation, Diddy could face the maximum. That's 10 years per count potentially. And that would mean the head of the Combs empire isn't walking out of prison until well into his 60s, maybe even older. And the moment that door slams shut, the balance of power within the family shifts.
Nobody could predict that this dude would be sitting on trial for his life. It just wasn't in the cards.
Some insiders are already speculating about who steps up to fill the vacuum. King Combs, despite the flash, hasn't built the kind of independent platform that can survive long without the resources, connections, and industry machinery his father spent decades assembling. If the inheritance dries up, or worse, gets tied up in civil court battles, what happens to the heirs? Do they splinter? Do they turn on each other? We're already seeing subtle fractures. The siblings who once posted daily family love now appear more cautious, more curated. Rumors are circulating that Diddy's inner circle has shrunk dramatically since the conviction. Former confidants are distancing themselves, old collaborators have gone radio silent, and as for King Combs, he's still posting, still performing. But the comments under his videos are shifting. Less admiration, more questioning. Less celebration, more suspicion. The audience is starting to ask, what's real and what's just performance?
Everybody is using it. Everybody is saying that it's Gene Deal's fault. It's Gene Deal who did this.
Gene Deal's most chilling warning wasn't about the judge or the sentence. It was about time. At 50-something years old, he said he'll come out to get his Social Security or better. It was a brutal reality check. And if that prediction holds true, the Combs brands, once synonymous with luxury, power, and reinvention, may soon be synonymous with legal fallout, betrayal, and collapse. So now, as Diddy sits in a holding cell awaiting his fate, and King Combs continues his flashy spin on social media, one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher, and the cracks in the Combs dynasty aren't just showing, they're spreading fast. But what do you think? Was King Combs' viral courthouse performance a heartfelt show of support, or a calculated move to protect power, status, and inheritance? Could this celebration backfire so hard that it adds years to Diddy's sentence? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget, in the world of the rich and reckless, appearances can be everything until the truth breaks through. Stay curious, stay bold. We'll see you in the next one.